Hello, everybody, and welcome to Making a Graphic Novel with Alicia Dianne. I am Alicia Dianne, and we are going to be working on Jaydi story number 2. The book is Prudence, and we are on spread number, I believe, 21. I believe we're on 21. So I'm going to go over to my other camera so that we can have a closer look and go ahead and get started. So let's do that. All right, hold on just a second. Let's see. Is it showing? That's not supposed to be. I think I have to put it on iPhone camera, so just a second. It might just be right on my iPhone instead of on iPhone camera, so hold on. Switch. Get my view right. Camera, iPhone camera. Okay, there we go. This should do it. Awesome. Okay, so here we are back over here. I'm going to switch my view so you can see what I'm doing. And angle it so that you can see everything. Alright, so I got most of the color in, and what I want to do right now is just kind of add a little bit more color to some of the spots, particularly I'm looking at like skin tone. That one needs another coat. Other than that, I think we're doing pretty good. And we're gonna get over to shadow, and we're done with that. So just because I don't talk about it too much, just to reiterate, I am using Koi paint. It is a brand of Sakura. I'm sure you've used Sakura before because they are the company that makes Micron. So they also have a brand that makes watercolor paints, and I really enjoy their paint a lot. And I use their markers too when I'm doing the ink. I have a few different markers, but for the most part I'm using Micron. Trying to find my paintbrush. Alright, so I found it. So let's go ahead and get started here with the adding on to stuff. I got this cool little stopwatch. I found it on Amazon, and I got it because I want to keep track of how long I'm spending on each spread. Obviously I've already started this one, almost done, but I want to still like track it. Puzzle is pretty easy. You can just start and stop. Let's see. So you can just start and stop whenever you want. You can also do like, if you wanted to do like, let's see, if I cleared it and I just put like an hour and I wanted to just count down, it can do that too. I don't know, I just think it's really cool because let's see, you have to stop it to clear it. So I'm gonna just start it, because one of the tips that my business advisor had given me was to track how long each painting took. At that time I was doing traditional like acrylic painting, but the same thing still applies, and I do still meet with the same advisor. She said like the only way you're really gonna know is how much everything is costing you, which is gonna affect, you know, how much you're gonna be charging, is by knowing like how long everything is taking you to make. That's gonna be a big part of it. As I move on now and I'm like growing in my skill, I also realize that the time I've already invested also plays a big part, because as you get better, as you keep growing as an artist, you do start to get faster, but you're also like, that's because you've already put all those additional hours in. So you do want to take that into consideration as well. So I think at that point then you start to charge more per hour that you spend on something. So instead of charging maybe like 20 bucks an hour that you spend on something, you might get up to charging $100 an hour. So It's just something to think about. Take a breath here. I don't know why I'm like out of breath already. I had an interesting weekend. It was my son's birthday. I talked about that on Thursday. But Friday was my son's birthday. And we had a nice time. We went hiking. What else did we do? We went to the mall. He wanted to get some new clothes. So we were able to do that. What else did we do? We got lunch randomly after our hike. I think everyone was pretty hungry. It was so hot out here. We went hiking in, what was it, Sierra Madre? So it's like not that far from Pasadena where we are. But yeah, it was hot that day. I can't even tell you. I don't remember what the weather was, but it was hot for hiking. And we were hiking up in the mountains too, so it was felt like a lot. Alright, let's see. Trying to get the right consistency. I just put the water on my palette right now, so it's still a bit watery. So I'm just trying to get the right consistency with it because I don't want it to feel too liquidy, too washed out. Then I'll have to end up putting another coat on there, which I don't want to have to do. It's good too, like this timer, like for while I'm recording, so then I know like how long I've been recording. That kind of helps. It's like a extra benefit. I only paid, it was less than $10. I saw some that were on there for like $50, and I'm like, why? You can just, does it do something that the other ones don't do? So I was trying to see like what they do, what they don't do, and some of them count up and some count down. I only needed the counting up because I just wanted to time how long I'm working on each piece. But it's nice to have both for a good cost, like a good, very affordable cost. Because at the moment, I am just doing illustration. And I'm just hoping that I can survive too. Like, I got nervous, like, this is like the first big, I guess, event this weekend that I've had since I no longer work at my day job. And I was a little bit nervous. I can't say that I wasn't. I was feeling a little bit nervous. I did run out of money. And I'm like, oh crap, what am I gonna do now? But I'm trying to not like get myself in a worrying state of mind and just kind of just focus on the work, focus on getting things done. And a lot of people have asked me, a lot of people in my circle who I've talked about, the fact, people that know that I was quitting my job. I talked to a few people and they're like, oh, so have you started applying yet? Have you started applying yet? And that seems to be the question. And the answer is no. I haven't started applying yet because I'm trying to figure out, you know, things. Am I still connected? Okay. It made a weird sound. It made me like second guess if I was still sharing. Apparently I am, so that's a good thing. Alright, let's see. I want to keep that part drawing while I'm doing the other part. Or that page anyway. I'm really running out of this brown color because all of my people are brown. So I noticed that that one is running out very fast this time around when I got the paint. It used to always be yellow that would run out the fastest. I don't know why. Maybe because it's a really neutral color and I always use it, as a base. So that might be why, but now it's my brown colors that are just gone. The tube is gone. So I am due to get a new set of paint tubes because mine is gone. Alright, what was I talking about? I believe I was talking something about, I don't know if she needs, I use a different color for Jaydi, but sometimes I'll do like a combo. Her skin is like different. It's a combination of the primary brown I'm using and then like this deeper brown. Because just on its own, the other one is just not warm enough. It just looks like not fleshy, so I need to add this other more fleshy looking brown. I could mix my own, but I don't know if I want to do that. I like to have everything ready to go. Alright, so what was I talking about before? I think I was talking about like working and potentially job situations. I was talking on studying the masters a few weeks ago about dreams and following dreams and not giving up, and I'm trying to just kind of continue to push myself to not stop. I don't want to quote that Don't Stop Believing song, but I kind of feel like I'm in that zone where I have to convince myself to not stop, because it gets, I don't know, sometimes it's hard to stay motivated, but somehow or another I'm able to keep going every time. I don't know how, I don't know what, I don't have a secret. I think it's just because I love doing this. I think that's probably the biggest thing, though. You're thinking about like your career and what you want to follow. It's when you really love something, or that's what keeps you going, like over years and years, literally years. I think that's the secret. Find something that you really, really love. It's strange when I meet people that are like, well on in years, like past their 30s, past their 40s, and they're still not, they still had never found something they love. I think there's things that you can do, though. I feel like, I know I've heard about exercises that you can do if you haven't found your passion. Like, you can do exercise. One of the ones that I can remember, like off the top of my head, was just making a list of the times you felt like the most joy and the times you felt the most alive, like the things you were doing, even if it doesn't have to be work related at all, just something you were doing that made you feel like really, really alive, or a situation, or even an environment. like, to me, when I think of that, like, one of the first things I think of, if not the first thing I think of, is like when I was in art school. And not all of the art schools I've been to, but when I was particularly at the School of Visual Arts and I was studying for my bachelor's, and I felt like so much joy there, because I think the thing that made me feel most is like, not only did I love what we were doing, but I felt like I was around a lot of other people who also, like, who had the same headspace I was in, who also loved what we were doing, and who also wanted to be there, and who also was just as good and talented. It's strangely like you can feel demotivated when people around you aren't on the same, like, skill level. And I don't mean just like people are so much like anybody's less than you, but you might be in an experience where everybody's like 10 times, ahead of you. I think that can make you feel demotivated. I think when you're around people, or you guys are like either moving towards the same thing, or you're like on the same path, and you're like, when you find people that you're on the same, in the same tier with, it feels really like validating, I'll say. It feels like you've found your tribe. If I don't know, because I think maybe it's just the fact that the same types of outcomes is the result of the same type of practices, and maybe you just have like this synced, like, set of, what would I call it, an understanding for what the other person is doing and what they've done and how valuable it is to them. Like, they feel the same level of importance for what you're doing. It's the thing that's weird is whenever you're around people that don't draw and who don't understand it, they get sick of you drawing. They get tired of you drawing, and it's like people who want to do the same things as you and have the same motivations. It's like they get it. They know. They're like, they want to do it too. They have the same motivations. They have the same ideals. They want to be there too, and they know it takes lots of hours to do it, and they're doing it too. It's something that I think is really validating about that. Okay, let's see. Alright, so I have a lot of this done. What else can I add while this is drying? I think I want to add some blue for that pillow back there. I didn't add my paint before mix my paint. I just added the water. So as usual, I was kind of running a little bit late. Alright, so let's put this in back here. Okay, I still don't think that's dry enough. You know what I can do for now while it's drying is I think I can go ahead and mix some of these colors. One thing that I noticed too, that I'm starting to realize, I did some practice in meditation yesterday, and I normally do like a couple minutes a day without too much thought in it, but I was reminded of how much of the meditation that I used to do when I was first starting to learn about visualization and those types of practices. And I was listening to Jack Canfield. I was listening to his videos, and it reminded me of, like, this meditation I have that he's done, and it's like 20 minutes long or whatever. And if you do the introduction with it, it's even longer. It's like 30 to 40 minutes. And I did the whole thing. I was just like, you know what, I haven't done this in a minute, so I'm gonna do the whole thing. So I did that, and I just kind of feel like I had some realizations. I think it was that combined with a lot of prayer that I've been doing, because I've been asking for answers, so I feel so confused. I mean, confusion has kind of plagued me in general for a long time, but I was feeling like more confused lately, and I was feeling confused in particular about career related things, which I haven't always felt. I felt like stuck sometimes, and I felt like I think for a long time I did feel like I wasn't sure how to go forward, because I was trying so many things and I wanted to just generally get better, but I didn't have any like clear answer after that. Like, okay, still, like, what should I do? And anyway, I started doing this meditation yesterday, and it became clear to me that I've heard many times that, like, you shouldn't be striving to just be better. You should be striving to be the best. And something about hearing that internally, like, registered for me, because I know that I don't in any way, like, perceive myself as the best of, like, anything. I consider myself like somebody who's dedicated to art and has worked at it for a long time and have gained a lot of skills from working at it for a long time, but I never consider myself to be the best at anything. But I was remembering this quote I heard from Brian Tracy, and one of the things that he says is, find what you love and then decide to be the very best in your field. And it felt exciting to think about that, like, oh wow, like, what would it look like to try and be, or like for that to be the goal, not even try and be, but to have that as a goal. And I felt excited, and then immediately after I felt scared. Like, oh no. But immediately also I started getting like impressions and like visions of what that looks like, and that felt really interesting because I hadn't thought about it in that way before. And I was like, well, if that was what I wanted to do, then I know I would need to do this. Like, I know I need to spend more time drawing skeletons and skeletal studies, and I know I need to do more time studying like landscapes and like actual pictures of things and being in person with the real thing, instead of trying to be, in my mind, like as good as some of the artists that I admire. And there's nothing wrong with like being as good, but I don't think that should be the goal. The end goal is like, I want to be as good as Glen Keane, I want to be as good as Jen Kim, like, or as good as fill in the blank. I think it's a good motivator to just, what does it look like to be the best in my field? So my field is animation. I still consider my field to be animation. I make comics, I make graphic novels, I love doing it. But when I look at myself as an artist, I'm an animation artist. I do visual development for animation, and that's like the style I bring to everything I do, whether it's painting, whether it's comics, or like whatever I'm doing, I'm bringing that type of aesthetic. because that's what I love. So when I think about what it looks like, I can see sort of like the steps I would need to take. And the studies I'm doing now, how I can make them even more sophisticated, in a sense, to get to the place where I want to get to in myself. And that takes all the focus. In a way, I was like wondering if that sounds like self-absorbed, or like does it sound like somebody that's like egotistical or like narcissistic? Like those types of thoughts will flash in your head when you start to think like that. But then I think I was able to kind of quiet them when I started to really think about it. It's like, no, it's like you're not even thinking then about what other people are doing. You're not comparing your. I think trying to be as good as puts you in a place of comparing, and then you're always comparing. Like that's what I was doing for a long time. Even then I was positively, or like what I call constructive comparing, I was still comparing. And I don't think you should notice what other people do, but it should constantly be about how do I grow myself. And I think when you change how you look at it in that way, and I'm over here just like cleaning my brush. I don't think you still want to see that. It's not very visually stimulating, but you know, I'm trying to let the paint dry and talk at the same time. But it does take the focus off of comparison, and it puts it on personal development. And I think that's actually a better place to be, because you're not so much thinking about what other people are doing, and you're not so much, you look a little bit less at what other people have done, and you look a little bit more at what you can do. And instead of like thinking about some of the artists who are out now and trying to do what they're doing now, I'm starting to look even more at the artists who came long before the ones who are out now. So I started looking back into Mark Davis, I started looking back into Milk Call, I started looking back and like, okay, like there's something that they were doing that's even like the artists I look at now, I can tell that they're like emulating and like copying what they did, like, or maybe like a second or third hand version of it. And it's like, no, I want to go back to the original ones and then really study those and see, and then go back and study like the anatomy again. Like, yeah, I've done it before, but you know, can I get better at it? Of course I can. Of course I can get better at it. So I should probably strive for that. And going back into like thinking about like drawing and painting from life, particularly like backgrounds and things like that. Because to me, some people just do characters, and I think I sometimes put myself in that box of like, well, yeah, I mean, there was a time where I just enjoyed doing characters, but now I enjoy doing the whole scene, and I love doing the whole scene, and I want to do like be better at it. So why shouldn't I, you know, just think about what other people are doing and then instead focus on what it is that I want to do, which is the whole scene, the entire concept of the visual development. So I start to think in that way, and I feel honestly pretty excited about it, because I think I didn't see it in the same sense before. I wasn't seeing it in the same light as I'm starting to see it now. And to me, I think it's pretty exciting because I can see like all the things that I can do and all the things that I can add to like a regular daily practice so that I can get to where I want to get to. And then not to worry so much about the applications, but just sharing my progress, continuing to do what I'm doing now is getting like mentorship and asking mentors and talking to people that are in the industry, and I think that the work will just come. That's my hunch. I think it will. I believe it will. So that's where I'm at. It's scary, but it's also really exciting. And I'm looking forward to what everything can be. And seeing like the potential for all the areas of growth. Alright, so let's go ahead and keep moving. I'm going to switch out my water so I can use the cleaner one. Alright, so let's go ahead and keep going. Alright, I think it's fairly dry enough. I think I can get started in my shading. So let's go ahead and get started. Alright, so let's start over here. Isn't that exciting though, like the concept of like working to be the very best? And when you think about all the people, like when you think about someone who's the best at something, you don't necessarily think of somebody who's like a narcissist or like someone who's self-absorbed. You think of somebody who's really committed, and I think that's a good value to have. Like when I think of like the best musician, I immediately think of like, I think of Elvis, I think of Michael Jackson, I think well, just those two I think are the best. But even like, you know, people who are living, if I was to think of like, you know, someone who's considered the best at performing, Beyonce comes to mind. I know that she's proven herself as a performer like over and over again, and I don't think that too many people have beat that who are currently living. And when I think of like number one athlete, I think of Michael Jordan, I think of like LeBron James or Kobe Bryant, but particularly I think of Michael Jordan, because it's just, I think he's the best. And at this too, it's like, you know, some people will agree, but most of it is going to be obvious, and then some of it is going to be opinionated. So, you know, it is what it is. Because, you know, even in sports, the needle is always going to keep moving, because the technology, like what's possible is always evolving. Like no one was able to run a 4-minute mile until one person did it, and then all of a sudden everybody can do it. And then so what's perceived as possible changes. So I wouldn't rely too much just on numbers and stuff like that. For me, it's like, you know, there's a part of it that's personal. Like somebody else might not even say Elvis. Somebody might say, well, I think the best performer ever, or even Michael Jackson. Somebody might say it's like the Beatles or something. You know, a lot of people think it's them, and that's their opinion. So part of it is that opinion part. But if you go in your mind and say, I want to be the best, and what does that look like for me, then I think it becomes you, like you saying in your mind, you're saying out loud that you want it to be the best, but in your mind it's going to perceive it as your best. Because if you just say your best, you're not going to do your best. You're going to be like, well, my best is what I'm doing right now. And what you're doing right now what I'm doing right now is not my best. I'm doing better than I was, and I'm learning as I'm going. But if I put in my mind, I want to be the best at this, then I feel like then your subconscious is really like perceiving it as like, all right, well, what does that look like? And then I think you're getting started to where you need to go. That's how I think. And not just what I think, it's a culmination of all the things I've learned from listening and really trying to understand what this whole law of attraction stuff is, and really trying to get it. And I've been a student of it for a while, and I'm still figuring out how it works. But this concept makes a lot of sense to me, and I didn't get it for a long time. Like, I've been listening to these things for years, but every day I feel like I have to reteach myself and re-look at things, because I'll see something I didn't see before, or I wasn't ready to see before, or whatever I couldn't wrap my head around before. Because sometimes you just don't understand. You're not ready to understand something. If you're trying to explain algebra to a baby, they're not going to get it because they just haven't learned the things they need to learn yet to get to that place. And I feel like it's that in life with everything. It's like you have to continue to be a student of the things that you want to understand and don't understand yet, because when you look at it again, you'll know more than you did before, and you'll be able to understand more than you did before, because we don't know everything right away. It takes a long time to like get good at things, and then it takes even longer to like really understand what the hell you're doing. It takes a while. Okay. I don't know why it's like that, why it has to constantly be uphill. I guess to make life interesting. Like, we're here for a short time, but it's also a long time. Like 100 years is a long time if we make it that far. So I think that's why things are so complicated, so we can continuously be learning stuff without getting bored. It's like, oh, I get it now. And I think life is a continuous process of the oh, I get it nows. I think Oprah calls them the aha moments. She coined that term. I give her credit. A lot of people say it and they don't give Oprah credit for saying it first. So I want to make sure that I give Oprah the credit, because I think it's such like a part of our language now. Yeah, like we all use that term. But it's a good term. It describes a lot. Alright, there's this. And there's so much to learn. Oh my god. It can feel overwhelming with the amount of things that need to be learned. But that's why you have to find something that you really love, so you don't get sick of it. And sometimes you need to find new ways to express it, as I was talking about before when I took the break. Because I feel like we do need breaks sometimes. And sometimes it's a lot of times. I forget where the light is coming from in this situation. I think it's coming from... Let's check the book. corner, I think. Alright, I think I know what I'm doing. It's not a guarantee I know what I'm doing, but I think I kind of know what I'm doing. So let's finish. Alright, so it should be coming from the opposite of here. It's so interesting, like the concept of like what's conscious and what's subconscious in your mind. Not to get like too philosophical with it, but I think that's super interesting. How what we perceive. And I don't know if I ever recommended this book, but what is it called? The Path Made Clear by Oprah is so good. I read it like 4 times now. I'm about to go back and read all my Brian Tracy books again. I think I have 3 books by him. I'm going to read all of them again. Because I feel like he had so much good stuff. Like, you have to reread books. Because the first time you do read it, especially if it's like any sort of like life advice, you're not going to fully get it the first time. Just like what I was just trying to talk about. Like how you're learning things all the time. You're not going to get it the first time. You're just not. Your small brain is not going to get it. Because my small brain doesn't get it either. You just don't get it right away. It takes time. Alright, so her shade should be coming that way. It's funny with the faces because I want to give them shade, but I don't want to make them look like villains when I'm not trying to. So I have to be... You have to kind of cheat a little bit with the shadow because depending on your character and the lighting of a space, you still want to put like a good character in a good light, literally. Without like making them come off as looking threatening or unappealing. If that's not your intention. So you have to be conscious of that stuff. I have no concept of what time it is. I was thinking it was like 4 p.m. Then I remembered it started at 12, so... I don't know why it feels super late. I think it's probably because I woke up early today. I woke up at like 5 something, and I stopped, like, intentionally stopped waking up super early. Because I used to, like, wake up very early, but I don't have the thyroid for that anymore. So I decided, like, I'm gonna wake up later. But today my body wanted to wake up and I couldn't fall back asleep. So that's like me reasoning why I must feel like it's so late in the day. I'm already thinking about the next books I want to do for the book club. Because I feel like I know it's not like super popular just yet, but I feel like it's one of the things I'm most excited about. Because I feel like it has a lot of potential to change people for the better. Because I feel like books is what does that. Like you can learn, I don't know, there's something different about a book than like watching a video or even a class. It's a little bit like a personal experience you have with the author. I don't know, maybe that's too like sounds cheesy, but I think it's true. So I'm gonna say it. I think there is like a bit of a personal experience you have with the author, and it just, I don't know, I feel like it makes you better. Like it's self-growth, I think, comes from books. And I don't know, that's just my opinion. It comes from more than that, obviously, too, but I don't know, I think it gets you started. I think that's what really changes people, really. Like books, they do it for some reason. They really make people better people. Maybe that's why I'm making a book. Maybe that's why I make books in general. I don't know. It's part of it. Part of it is definitely like, what can you say here? And you get to talk to, when you make a book, you get to talk to people one-on-one, which is a fun thing. You're not there when they experience it, but it's cool that you can have something that lets you talk to people one-on-one even when you're not around anymore. Like, not to be dark or nothing, but it's true, like we're all not going to be here forever, but hopefully we can leave something behind, or my hope is to leave a few things behind. I mean, we're going to leave everything behind, but you know what I mean? Like some stuff that people can still like know you even when you're not there. Like one of the coolest things that happened to me was reading my grandfather's book that he hadn't even published yet. And that's like one of my big goals in life too, is to have his book published, to get it published somehow. But that was the coolest thing, to like discover another part of him that I didn't know, like after he was gone. That's a pretty cool thing. And if you make your own book, then you can have that experience, not just with like strangers too, but it could be your own family, who your great grandchildren, or if you're not having children, it could be your great grand nieces or nephews, or anybody like that in your great cousins. My cousins aren't great. But I'm just saying, it could be somebody that, it could be anybody can come across your stuff and like get something out of it, even if it's just a laugh. Because people are realizing more and more how important laughter is. I mean, I feel like I knew this all along, but more people are noticing how important laughter is. I feel like I knew this only because like I can tell the difference of how I feel when I laugh, and like I just feel, you feel healthier, right? When you laugh, or when you, like a real, sincere, genuine laugh, like I think you feel healthier. I think I do. Alright, I'm trying to do the math of like where all these shadows should fall. There is a bit of a math equation to it. Where shadows fall and how they fall is very mathematical. Mathematical? That's not a word. Whatever you would call it. Alright. It looks so green, but that's because it's blue and yellow. There's so much green though. Okay. Making progress slowly and surely. I would love to do like Q&As on here. So if you have questions about making, painting, coloring, concept of graphic novels and you would like me to answer, please go ahead and leave your questions in the comments. That will help me to kind of understand where you're at and what it is you want to explore more in your own work, or even like, even if color is so much about light, and I think I didn't always get that. Well, I know I didn't always get that. I just, it's a wonderful thing though. It's like so, like, it's so complex, but like so natural. Like, how much more natural can you get than like just light on an object? I don't know. It's supernatural. And I was thinking too just about like painting and that whole process, and I do miss like acrylic painting a lot, and I always want to go back to it. So I think I want to explore more over the summer with some painting. But I have to first meet my quota with this. That's a number one. I know I get distracted, so I have to keep my focused. But it's just something that I noticed that I miss and I really love, something that I genuinely love. And so because it is something I genuinely love, I want to pay attention to it and not neglect it. Because you don't want to have regrets, and I think one of the main ways we have regrets is when we ignore the things that we know we love. I think that's where regret comes from. Oh, that felt so sentimental. Because it made me think too, like, in other things that I love. Like, I love my family, and I want to make sure that I know that's cheesy, but I do, and I want to make sure that I spend time with them. So I think, is all regret just neglecting the things that you love? Could be. Whatever it is. And some people say, I don't have any regrets. I actually have a tattoo of that, like, no regrets. And I think if we're honest, we all have some regrets. But I think the important thing more is to not let. I think too, like the tattoo is more like not dwelling on mistakes, but learning from them and being like self-compassionate, because we all make mistakes. But when we can learn from them and just like grow, I think it's not wasted. If you noticed, I have a lot of opinions. I do. And that's what this channel's for. For me to share all of my various opinions. Okay. Make sure that I'm not forgetting areas. I forgot to shade Sabrina over here. I'm not sure I get everything I'm needing to get. Okay. Alright. I'm just about done with my shading. I think we'll call it after that. I think I want to make sure that I got these areas in the shade in the shadow part. Okay, I wanted to make sure that I shaded this area, because this is where the speech bubble is going to go. So I just wanted to shade that a bit. Alright, so we're making progress, making progress. Make sure I have everything I want to have here. Even the shade from the wall, if there is any. I'm going to give it a little bit, just so it's, you know, not looking too flat. Dimension 2 is all about like light and shading. I feel that a lot too, like things can look really flat if you're not thinking about the lighting. Things can feel flat. I'm going to take a little bit of that off without messing it up. I'm attempting not to mess it up anyway. Alright, where else am I going? Just gonna have 2 more panels here, and I'm going to go ahead and ink it after this and add my highlights. So that would be the next step. If you guys have questions, again, please leave them in the comment. Let me know if you have questions either about my work, about just the process in general, or if you have any questions, even if you want my opinions on like other art. I'm not gonna judge anybody else's art, obviously, but if you are curious about a particular type of artist, you want to start a conversation, let me know. I think those types of things can be helpful. I'm really starting to appreciate more and more anime as well. I know that was a challenge of mine, but I'm really, really starting to appreciate it more, especially the storytelling background, like both of those things. Like I love the creativity of the stories, like how they feel they just feel like less constricted than American animation, and I think the backgrounds are just incredible in a lot of those things. There's an artist I'm looking at who did the anime Suzume. I don't know if anyone saw it. It's on Netflix, but the background work is amazing. I was really blown away by it. So if you have time, check it out. I think it's like a full 2-hour movie, but the background art is worth it. The story's pretty interesting too. It's very different. I'm sure there's some more complex ideas, like meaning behind the story, that my brain will probably have to watch again to understand. And on that note, I think I'm about to head out. Alright guys, that is it for today. Alrighty, well thank you so much for drawing with me and checking out this channel and watching me paint my graphic novel, which I'm so excited about, and talking about, you know, manifestation, what that looks like, what it really means to try and motivate ourselves to be the best, to be the very best we can be, and to be to just aim higher than we have been. I think that's a pretty good goal to have. So thank you so much for this time with me, and I will see you next time. Until I see you again, be grateful, live balanced, and be yourself. See you next time.